All right, for reflections, those are our flips. A reflection flips the graph of a function across a line, such as the x or the y-axis. So here's our x-axis, here's our y-axis. And this is for any function f of x. If we are reflecting across the y-axis, then we're going to make what's inside of the parentheses with the x negative. If we're going across the x-axis, we're going to put a negative outside of those parentheses, on the outside of the function. Okay. Now, kind of a nifty thing is going to happen here, and we're going to test this out by mentally translating these points ourselves, not looking at a formula and changing it, but just changing where these go. Okay. So for this point here, let's start with moving across our y-axis, because this is our y-axis here. So I'm going to be reflecting it, taking it, and flipping it over to this side. So it's like doing this. All right, so if I'm flipping across the y-axis, this point here, my 0, 3, it's going to stay in the same place. Now if I take this point and I flip it all the way over, it's got to go the same distance across the y-axis that it is on this side. So this point is 2 away from the y-axis. So I'm just going to take it all the way over, and I'm going to put it 2 over on this side so that they are in the same places. So this point, which was the negative 2, 2, is now at positive 2, positive 2. I'm going to do the same thing for these other points. So this one is over 3. So when I go over, I'm going to count over 3 to figure out where it needs to land for my y-axis reflection. This one is over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm also going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this one ends up landing at positive 5, positive 1, and this one lands at 3, 4. And I'm just going to connect them. And what you should see is that these are mirror images across the y-axis, which we see here. Now, do you notice anything interesting about those ordered pairs? Because I noticed that in each case, the thing that's changed here is that the x-coordinate switches signs. The only exception is when the x-coordinate is 0, because 0 is neither negative nor positive, so I can't switch its sign, it just stays 0. All right, so now let's reflect across the x-axis. So I'm going to take each of these points and do basically the same thing I did before, but just doing it across the x-axis. So this point here is located one step above it. So I'm going to go one step below for the x-axis. This one is located 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 below, 2 up. So I'm going to go down 2. And then this one is up 3. So I'm going to go down 3 here. And if you think about it, this should look like the edge of the water. Like if this is a lake and this is what's in the background, then you should see a mirror image of it in the water of the lake. That's what we're looking here with reflections. Okay, so for as far as the ordered pairs go, that first one stayed at negative 5, but now it's at negative 1, so over negative 5, down 1. For the second one, we're at negative 3 and then down 4, so negative 4. For this one, over negative 2, and then down 2, and then for this one, 0, negative 3. And if you're comparing these two columns, important thing to see here is that when we do an x-axis reflection, the y-coordinates switch signs. And the x's stay the same that time. So an easy way to remember this is that you make the letter that is not in the name of the reflection the opposite sign. So y-axis, make x switch signs, x-axis, make the y switch signs. Okay, so we're going to look at doing this with an equation then about where do we put these negatives and these positives. Okay, so if g of x is a reflection of f of x in the y-axis, so we're doing our y-axis reflection, the equation is going to be different. So for g of x, I'm going to take my initial equation for f of x, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a negative right in front of that x, and I'm going to put it in its own set of parentheses. Okay, and this gives me, if I go ahead and multiply this out, negative 2x minus 1. And that is the reflection in the x-axis. With the reflection across the x-axis, that's going to be h of x. And for this one, what I want to do is I want to put the entire equation in parentheses, and I want to put a negative on the outside of that so that the entire equation is getting made negative. So I'm going to simplify this by going ahead and distributing that negative to both pieces inside of the parentheses. So negative 2x plus 1.